Okay, questions, comments, concerns, random thoughts? We good? Okay, let's take notes. Let's look at the next page. How do costs behave? That's about as colorful as I can get on the board. I've still got one color I haven't used yet. How do costs behave in total? Okay, left side, right side, dollars, volume, dollars, volume. Now we learned the names of some costs, and so we're just going to be graphing costs whose names we already know. So tell me about this. What's that look like? And so we're also in total, okay? We're in total. What's that graph look like, Aubrey? Fixed. Very good. What's this one then look like? And that's Scott, Mr. Musgrave? Variable. And those are both in total, okay? Per unit. Let's do those below. Volume, volume. What's the graph look like for per unit? For fixed, since we did that on the left. Michael Newland. Where's Michael Newland? Is he here? Michael Newland's not here, at least not saying he is. Pamela, okay? Pamela, what? It's downward sloping, straight line or not straight line? He just drew it. It's actually a not straight line. It's actually a curved line, if you were to plot it. And then variable costs on a per unit basis. Christy, what's that graph look like? Good question, she says. Thank you. Because remember, how did I define variable cost per unit?
It's the same.
They are?
They're fixed on a per unit basis.
Yeah. So it looks like that. On a per unit basis, it's actually a fixed line. Very good. Very good. Okay? So far so good? Wow. One of those colors is really smelly. Now you know how come, professors can be so happy. Badunch. What's that look like? Oops, except I got one of my labels wrong. Angie, what's that look like? The graph. The graph, what kind of a cost?
Fixed, I would assume, but for different products, I don't know.
That should kind of touch. If I drew it on the board right, it would kind of touch. It's actually, technically, it is a step fixed cost. It's a step fixed cost, which means for volume 0 to here, it's at this level. From volume here to here, it's that level. From volume here out to infinity, it's that third level. So it's actually, technically, it's a step fixed cost. But this is the relevance of the relevant range is the page we're on. If I asked you to describe the cost between the red dashed lines, David Roberts, where's David Roberts? David, how would you describe that line, the graph, if you will, between the dashed lines? What is that? It's not supposed to be very hard. You just did it. The last page of notes. And it's in total, if that's helpful. It's in total. So what's that graph look like? Because all you're looking at, right, is a flat line between the two red lines, right? How can I help you? Is it variable or fixed? Fixed. Fixed it is. Fixed it is. And so this is just, so if we define the relevant range as this, then that's just a fixed cost. And so a relevant range is the range over which cost behavior patterns are valid. The range over which cost behavior patterns are valid is the relevant range. The range over which the cost behavior patterns are valid. It's the range over which cost behavior patterns are valid. And the nice thing is, if you still want to hear me say it again, you can watch the video. And you can hear me say it again. The range over which cost behavior patterns are valid. And so if we define the relevant range as this area, then that becomes a fixed cost. If the relevant range is this whole area, that is a step fixed cost. Okay, so it's just to get clear the notion that these graphs that I just erased from the board are valid for the relevant range. They're described and are valid for the relevant range. Okay. And I'm tired. Now we're going to the next page, which should say something about what kind of cost is this? And you might be able to guess that the next person who I name will be asked that very question, if you know who you are already. If you know who you are already, that is the question. Do you know who you are already? Taylor knows who she follows already. I really am going to have to shuffle these like much, much sooner than I would have ever imagined doing so in this class. Taylor, what kind of cost is that? You should know.
Variable.
Is it a variable cost?
No, apparently not.
Heidi, do you know? Total cost. What's the difference between a total cost and a variable cost? Taylor? Yeah. Why is it not? Why would this not be a variable cost?
Maybe because it didn't start at 0.
Bingo. Precisely correct. Precisely correct. It did not start at 0. It kind of looks like a variable cost, though, doesn't it? It's a straight line sloping up. So it really has the appearance of a variable cost, but it's also it's got that one little strange attribute. Variable cost start at 0. This does not. And so it is a total cost. So it's really a fixed cost. I mean, it's a variable cost line stacked on top of a fixed cost line, if you will. And so that gives us total cost. Okay? Who here, raise your hand, who here has ever taken an algebra class? Raise your hand. Ooh, 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 ooh. So Katie, in algebra, you've had an algebra class. In an algebra class, what formula can we use to represent a line on an xy plane? Y equals mx plus b. Let me write it over here. Did anybody ever use this? Y equals a plus bx. Did anybody use that in school? In Dr. Swanson's class last semester. Anybody else? A few. I put it there. You can see that they're doing the same thing. I mention it because there's a question on your practice exam for the first exam that is in the y equals a plus bx format, not in the y equals mx plus b. But the overwhelming majority of the stuff you're going to see is going to be on